I must ask you before you tell me about this Afghan drug lord who perhaps, I don't know, became a friend or you encountered. Did you not fear for your life? And I think many of my viewers don't know what you do, right? That led you to all these conflict zones.
Yeah, I can tell you that I was shit scared because I wondered what the hell was going to happen. But there was a momentum, and the momentum propelled me forward. And I think that in retrospect, I wouldn't have done that. But at that point of time, I was also reliving all the stories that I'd read about the great game of the 19th century.
Peter Hopkirk.
Peter Hopkirk, you're right.
Nice.
And the Tournament of Shadows, all of those stories. So it was like actually a dream come true. I always wanted to visit the Oxus River and bathe in it. So when I went to the banks of the Oxus River, the Afghans around me said, please don't even try bathing here because you'll get shot at, because the Taliban across the border, they'll start firing mortars. So I said, can I not at least wash my face and hands with the water of the Oxus River? Because this is a very significant river, because Alexander crossed this river to get into India.
Right.
And this is hallowed ground because there's an encampment there called Ai Khanum, which was where Alexander had encamped. So they said, okay, you can go and quickly wash your face. And I just drank a little bit of water from cupped my palm, and I drank the water at the Oxus River. So that was a great experience. But close to the river and the flow of the river, there was this place called Talokwan, which was kind of a large village or a small town. And it was under the control of a guy called Haji Bashir. And Haji Bashir Kant Chahe Abi. Talokan, and there's this, I beg your pardon, I mixed up the names. It was called Chahe-Ab. So we got talking and we took an interview of his. And then while we were having lunch, which was basically a lunch of all the different kinds of sardars and watermelons and kharbuzas that were possible, he asked me...
What's sardars?
Sardar is a kind of a melon, right?
Okay.
It's called a sarda, and it's sort of like a rugby ball, and it's got white fruit inside it. And then
You don't have any meat, any sustenance?
we had meat, but we had a lot of fruit there because it was summer, and in the heat you prefer to have fruit rather than to eat kebabs and that kind of stuff, which we used to eat early morning or at night.
I see, when it was colder.
When the sun was less harsh.
Okay.
So I asked this guy asked me that he said, your country is growing very rapidly and there's a lot of investment coming in. This is, mind you, 2001.
If you want to watch small segments of the podcast, subscribe to Dostcast Clips.
So he said, I have some money to invest, and would you recommend any sector where it could be invested in? So I said, look, I don't know the sectors, but I could introduce you to my chartered accountant if you send somebody to Delhi, and he can give you some advice as to where you could invest your money. But how much money do you have? So he said, I have 75. So I said, 75 what? He said, 75 million. I said, Afghanis? He said, no, US dollars. So I said, where is the 75 million US dollars? So he said, come with me. So we walked to the bottom of his garden, and buried in the ground, there was a container. He opened the lid of the container and he shone his torch into it, and there were all these dollar bills lying there, dirty, filthy, greasy dollar bills. So I said, is this your money or is this the Northern Alliance's money? So he said, no, it's my money. And the interesting thing was that this guy was an aggregator of even the Taliban. He was fighting the Taliban, but he was also doing trade with them at the same time. Like we're fighting the Chinese and we're doing trade with them.
Right.
He was doing trade with them. And he was collecting this as his share. So he had a personal fortune of $75 million, which was protection money paid to him to ensure the aggregation of the heroin to cross the Oxus River and go into Tajikistan. So that was the incredible thing. And he had it in his friggin' garden. So I said, look, but where is the heroin?
Right.
So he said, come, I'll show you. So we drove 5 kilometers out of town. And there was this kind of a makeshift Nissan tin hut. And inside that, there were the stacks of heroin. So I said, can I film? He said, no, then you won't be able to go back home. Because, there's no way that I will let you film. So it was a very smelly place because heroin, when it's packed together and into these packets, 1 kilogram or whatever, it gives off a bad smell. So then we left. And that was quite a mind-blowing experience. And then after that, we digested it. And we said, wow, man, we've really seen something. It's, like when you're on an adrenaline-filled run.
Right.
You don't pause to think. And when you think, then you realize that, look, what have you seen? It's an incredible experience. And I've written about it in my book, but I couldn't, show it in a film because it was not part of a story. We were doing a documentary on the Northern Alliance and we couldn't very well say that, look, these guys are also in the drug trade.
Roughly 60 crore rupees more buried in his garden. That's
60 crores, yes. At that point of time, the rate of exchange was much less. It was about 40 rupees to the dollar.
But still, from money of that time, must have far, bigger value today in today's day and age.
Yeah.